it's a challenge because the Chinese education system is very formal and quite rigid. And so, people have to learn certain things and they learn in a certain way. And that's just how it's done here. Whereas in America, so I went to school in England, obviously, but I was the dean in America. And, every few weeks, a student would come in to my office and tell me that they pay my salary. So I'd better listen to what they want. And
Wow.
I better deliver what they thought they were going to get.
This episode, I invited a dear friend of mine, Simon Collins, come to my channel. He's a design thinker, speaker, writer, educator, designer, and advisor. He spent 7 years as Dean of the School of Fashion at Parsons in New York. He was a creative director at Nike in Hong Kong. He published a book, The School of Fashion, 30 Parsons Designers. Right now, he's distinguished visiting professor at Tsinghua University. He's China academic lead at Parsons School of Design. He's visiting professor at Donghua University. He's chief creative officer at Design Innovation Institute, Shanghai. I hope all of that sounds impressive to you. I know I am. Now let's welcome him. Thank you for joining us. Could you start by giving us a quick overview of your background and your design journey?
Sure. So I studied fashion at design school in the UK. I'd been passionate about fashion from the age of about 11, so it was a very easy decision for me. And then when I graduated, I spent 10 years in London as a designer and a tailor. I had a tailoring studio. And then when I was at the tender age of 29, I got hired as the creative director of Fila. So I moved from London to New York to take up the role of creative director. At the time, there was a lot of English creative directors in New York. I did that for a while. Then I became the creative director of Nike in Asia. And then I went back to New York and became the dean of the School of Fashion at Parsons, which was an amazing experience. I spent 7 years doing that. Then I created a succession of different companies. And now I find myself based in Shanghai. And I have the Design Innovation Institute Shanghai, where I'm the chief creative. I have my own consulting company, and I'm a professor at Tsinghua. And I'm actually speaking to you from Tsinghua right now.
Oh, are you? I thought you'd be in your studio.
No. I'd like to get around. Like I have a lovely studio in Shanghai, but if I spend too much time there, it drives me crazy. So I have to move around. So this week I'm in Tsinghua in Beijing.
Ah, okay. So how did you discover your passion for teaching? Because you talk a lot on like TED Talk, on other keynote speeches, and then you teach students.
I've always been very confident at communication, which is ironic because I'm actually very shy. But when it comes to speaking to a big group, I'm quite confident about that because I've got a good sense of what I want to talk about. And so I feel like, what can go wrong? Like I know my subject, so I'm just going to talk about it. So I do. And I think that early on in my career, it became clear that communication was something that was an asset for me. And the different companies I work for, particularly Nike, you've got to give speeches all the time. You're always communicating about what you're doing. And so, I've never had any training in it, but it's something that I enjoy very much. I love quality communication. I love to pick the right word and get the message across. And I judge myself very harshly if I think I've communicated successfully or not. And so, I like a challenge, right? And it's something which comes up a lot in my job. So I'm just lucky. It's one of those things I can do.
So to an extent, excuse me, I'm still a bit sick from the
Oh
other
no, I haven't read
day. Should be fine. As I was saying, so to an extent, you are quite familiar with the Western and Chinese style of teaching, right? Are you familiar with both educational structure?
I am, yeah. I've been teaching at Tsinghua now since 2008, I think. So 16 years already. And I teach at other schools, and I've actually created curriculum for schools as well here. And it's a challenge because the Chinese education system is very formal and quite rigid. And so, people have to learn certain things and they learn in a certain way. And that's just how it's done here. And the people that are in charge of it, they grew up in that way. And so they're very keen to keep it the way it is. And then on the other hand, you've got people that wish to be much more progressive and more international. And a, a healthy conversation between them. Whereas in America, so I went to school in England, obviously, but I was the dean in America. And, every few weeks, a student would come in to my office and tell me that they pay my salary. So I'd better listen to what they want. And
Wow.
I better deliver what they thought they were going to get. And so you've got that extreme, and, I'm not exaggerating. There weren't that many of them, but I'm not exaggerating. So you've got that extreme, and then you've got the Chinese extreme, which is be quiet, read the book, learn the lesson, and don't question the master. And I think we've all got to strive for the healthy space in between that. I was
Mm.
teaching this morning, and I said to the students, "I'm not happy if you don't ask me questions. I'm not happy. I don't feel like you're engaged." And I think that as much as I have, the deepest respect for the education system here, I think it'll be even better the more they encourage people to question and to create innovation.
Yeah, that is so true. So I've attended to university both in China and in the UK. So when I was in the UK, everyone in the class, they are extremely happy to be raising their hands and asking questions and answering
Yeah.
questions even. But in China,
Mm.
just don't look at me. I don't want to answer your questions. Everyone was the same.
It, I mean, the irony is there are incredibly talented designers here, and I know that from the number of Chinese designers that came to Parsons. Amazing, super high quality talent. And you look at the designers that show in New York Fashion Week and elsewhere, so many Chinese designers. So there's no question about the talent, but the challenge is nurturing that talent and bringing it out. And one of my personal missions is to do a better job of that here in China, because I think it's disappointing that for a Chinese design student to do their very, very best work, it
Mm.
makes sense for them to study abroad. And that's great. They should, and that's good. I think the world is much better that we all travel for sure. But I also think that a student that doesn't have the resources to travel abroad and study should have a high quality education here. And I want to try and facilitate that if I can help.
Yeah. So when you teach in China, do you teach in English in the class?
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I
they would
do.
have to
我的中文不好，我会说一点点中文，然后 no, it's terrible.
So the students would have to asking questions or answering questions in English, right? Do you think that could be one of the biggest part where they are afraid to do so because of the language barrier? They're not really
Yeah.
confident in speaking English.
Yes, you're absolutely right. But I always make sure that there's someone there that can translate. So, and I'm aware of that, and I don't
Mm,
want language to get in the way. So I'll give a speech in English, but there'll be a translation. And then I'll ask for questions and I'll say, you can ask a question in Chinese. Don't worry about it. It's no problem at all. And somebody will translate for me. So, I've been here a long time. I'm acutely aware of the challenges. And the last thing I want is for language to get in the way of a student being able to give their best. So we make sure that that's not a problem.
lovely. So you were talking about you are actually doing structure of the curriculum for schools as well. So I have a questions for
Mm,
you. Where do you
yeah.
feel the current structures fell short or struggle to adapt to the changing artistic and cultural landscapes?
Yeah, I mean, listen, when I was at Parsons, we changed the whole structure there as well. So it's not like there's anything special about anywhere else that's got it perfectly right. I think a curriculum it's like a living thing. It should always be evolving. It should always be changing. And if you're not looking at your curriculum every year and tweaking it and making it advance, bringing in new techniques, then you're really not trying hard enough. Having said that, some schools have got quite an old curriculum, quite, long established. And I think that if I can help them to bring in more innovation, to bring in more experimentation. I mean, here's something which is not popular here, but I think is vital, and that's the glory of making mistakes. Mistakes are fantastic because you learn from a mistake. You don't learn if you get it right. It's like when my speeches, my question is always, can please someone disagree with me? Because I want to be wrong. Because if I'm wrong, I'll learn something. If I'm not wrong, I'm not going to learn anything. So, I think that the power of making a mistake and recognizing that, giving yourself the permission to do that, or your boss giving you the permission, or your teacher, and then learning from it and moving forwards is absolutely critical to success in design.
Mm, that's very true. So you said about you'll be adding on more innovation and experimentation to the curriculum itself. Do you look into the current technology development and other things to add on? Or is there any other strategies that you will look into adding on the curriculum?
I'll give an example of what we did at Parsons because I think it's relevant to what's happening here. But what we did was we realized that we had about 50 different labs around the school, and they were all doing different things. Excuse me, all doing different things. And we thought, how exciting would it be if we created a making center in the middle where all the students could go and they could work with each other randomly. A computer coder could work with a fashion designer and a ceramicist, and a graphic designer could work with someone doing woodwork and maybe a communications expert making video. So lots of different interactions, which were all facilitated by bringing people together in one central place, the making center. I think if you take that into the curriculum, one of the things that I'm very passionate about is bringing students together in teams and helping them to learn to work together, to celebrate each other's strengths, and also to celebrate their own extracurricular strengths. Because, you know, if you're learning to be a fashion designer, you better make sure you can do more than be a fashion designer. You know, you better make sure you can take pictures and you can do illustrations and you can present, and you need to have some business understanding. Like, there are so many new things that you need. And I think anyone who wants to be successful in design has to have a whole raft of skills. And so we should be teaching those.
So do you think those skills can be simply acquired in school, or do you think they need more opportunities outside of school?
Sorry to say that when you graduate, you don't really have any of the skills you need to work, right? You just don't.
That is so true.
But having said that, when you move jobs and you go to a new job, you probably don't have any of the skills that they need either. You know, like when I left Fila and went to work at Nike, Nike looked at me and said, well, we don't want any of the things you've done before. We want all these things. But they wanted me to be the person doing them. And that's what it comes down to. That's why you hire somebody. You don't hire somebody because they can already do your job. You hire them because you believe they could do your job, the job that you want. So, you know, in terms of students, it reminds me of when I studied history at school. We'd always go, sir, why do we have to do history? It doesn't matter. It's all past. And the teacher would say, well, you can learn from it, but more importantly, you can show people that you can learn. And that's what you want to do. I mean, when I was at Parsons, I realized at one point, I was giving a speech and I had this revelation. The most important thing that we taught students at Parsons, in my opinion, was the ability to learn. That's what it was all about. You learned how to learn. Because what I want, when I hire somebody, what I want them to do is I want them to say, I don't know how to do your job, but I do know how to find out how to do it. And then I'll get it done. That's what it comes down to. And I think the smartest students have tools that enable them to find things out and then do the job.
I think it's quite hard to actually find that person that are willing to learn, because a lot of them pretend that they are willing to learn during the interview, and afterwards you just find out they're just incredibly lazy. They just do what they have at hands.
I am amazed at young people these days. I mean, listen, the brilliant ones are still brilliant. Yes, they are. And that's wonderful. I'm very happy about that. But, you know, I'll sit at a table with a bunch of people, young people, and I'll be, you know, perhaps sharing some thoughts. And some of them will just be completely switched off, like not listening. And I think, all right, well, I'm just me, right? Maybe I'm not that interesting. That's fine. I respect that. But what are you doing here? Don't be here. If you don't want to listen, go somewhere else. I call people oxygen thieves if they do that. If you sit around the table with me and you're not interested, you're stealing oxygen. So go and steal somebody else's oxygen.
I totally agree with what you said earlier on. Actually, you said a lot of us came out of school and had nothing to offer to the work life. So is there any advice that you can give, you know, for us how to be prepared for this when we're still in school?
The most important thing is to be curious. That's the one thing, just that, that's it. Just be curious and show you're curious. Because if you can show that you're curious, then to me, that's like, all right, they're engaged. They're into what we're doing. They want to find out. And of course, you've got to show me that you're curious about what I'm doing, about my company or wherever I am. But I'm assuming you are. That's why you've shown up for the interview. But you've got to be able to demonstrate your curiosity, because that's the one quality that even the most experienced, even the masters around the world of what they do, that's what they have. They have curiosity. And so you've got to show that you have that.
And there one part that I would like to discuss with you is that I think the school are really lacking in terms of teaching us how to deal with the actual career. Say, how do I deal with client? Because I'm a creative, right?
Well,
In school, how
yeah,
do I deal with client, and how do I deal with in a company? How do I deal with my managers, my colleagues? And if I can't
mm,
talk to my client in companies, right? Because you usually don't talk to client. How do I deal with my project? And I think that's what they are lacking. So what do you think
yeah.
about this?
I mean, what I believe is that at Parsons, we had a very, very strong group of faculty who were also working. And I think that's what you need. I think it's fine to have faculty that don't work outside of the academy, that just are academics. That's great. We love them and we need those for research, etc. But you must have a healthy balance of people that are still working, that are still active, because they can come in and they can say, this is fine what you're learning, but what you actually need is this. And they can give you real life, this is what you need today, because they're working. And you've got to be able to find space for those in the academy because the students need that information. And you can't get it from a book because it's constantly changing. So you've got to be able to incorporate real faculty who are working currently to teach the students, because that's the only way to remain current.
Yeah, that's true. But is there anything that we can do ourselves to be, at least slightly prepared for the future
Yeah.
career?
Here's the thing, right? You I've heard so many people complaining, so many young designers complaining about, oh, we don't get this, we didn't get that, I don't know how to do this, how do I find this? And the good ones never say that. The good ones are too busy. They're too busy. Like I remember I used to have tea at Parsons, right? I'd invite students in every 2 weeks, tea with the dean. And one time this guy came in and he said, oh, I want to get an internship. I don't know how to do it though. How do I do it? How do I get an internship to me? Like I was going to get it for him. And this young lady was in there and she was 2 years below him. She went, what are you talking about? I've been interning for the last 4 years. And she was 18. So she'd been interning since
Oh,
she was 14. And he's like, what do you mean? She said, yeah, when I was 14, I decided I wanted to be a fashion designer. So I started ringing every single fashion company I could ever find over and over and over and over again. And eventually I got an internship. They just gave up and said, all right, you can come in. She said, and then I lose that one to get to the next one and then the next one. And now, she named all these designer brands that she interns at. And because she'd built relationships with these companies. So she was already embedded that, they were all looking at her like, we like you. You're smart. You came here, you got yourself in, you'll be graduating one day and we want to know. So, it's within your grasp. And people go, oh, well, there's no designers in my city. Get a job in a shop. I want to see if you want to be a fashion designer, work in a fashion shop, learn about it. I know somebody in Chadwick Bell, a designer in New York, and his experience, he didn't go to college. He works at Saks. And he worked at Saks selling dresses and he understood what women wanted. And then he started designing them and then he became a designer. The chairman, CEO, and president of Macy's, so the biggest retail group in the whole world, Terry Lundgren is his name. He had a saying which is bloom where you are planted, which just means whatever you are asked to do it brilliantly. Like my version of that is brilliance only. I give it in my speeches, right? And it just means whatever you're doing, if you're interning, if you're making coffee, if I make coffee for my interns, it will be brilliant coffee. And I will make coffee for my interns because they're doing stuff I can't do. So, I'll make the coffee. I'm fine with that. So you've got to give value wherever you are. And if you do that, people will notice and then you'll be invited back.
okay. So you kind of already answered the question that I was about to ask. And I'm just going to quickly summarize what you just said. So in terms of building a sustainable career outside of school, right? Whilst they're still
Mm.
in school, they can try to find an internship. If not, try to maybe work in a place where it's, in relation to what you're learning right now, what you're studying right now, what you're majoring right now.
Let me just elaborate. You can always get an internship because you can get a virtual internship. You want to do something online, you want to help a company out, do it. You just like if you're a graphic designer, find a young designer that needs a logo and help them. That's interning, right? That's doing it. There's always something you can do. And if you can't find anything to do, it's on you. That's not the universe that's denying you. It's you. You haven't found it. And and it's tough, but it's supposed to be tough. Who said it was supposed to be easy? Make it happen. And it's not about money, because as long as you've got a computer or a phone, then you can do the work. It's not about location, because everyone's got internet now, so you can do it wherever you are. So there is no excuse, and you can come up with your own version of it, but do it. You've got to do it.
That's true. So you mentioned you can get virtual internship. I think that's the benefit of having such good technology days on us, isn't it? You can do everything online. What role do you think technology and digital platforms play in this democratizing art and design?
I mean, they're absolutely vital, right? They've opened up a way for all of us to create content and deliver content without needing a middleman. For example, I use Xiaohongshu, right? And it's loads of fun. I do videos all the time, and they go straight to my fans. I don't have to rely on anybody. I've got my own editing on my phone. I can edit them. I can add subtitles. Don't need anybody. And I've got someone that helps me, right? But she's now she sort of lets me do it, which is nice. So technology enables you to do things on your own that you couldn't ever do before. If you wanted to create a fashion brand or design products, you can do it. You can find factories, you can get things made, and then you can sell them. You can literally sell your own stuff online. You don't need anybody else. So it used to be that, for example, in fashion, if you wanted to be a fashion designer, you had to find a factory. You couldn't do that. You have to go to New York or London or something. Then you had to design it. Then you had to find the fabric. Then you had to go someplace and get it made. Then you had to find media, try and get coverage for it, and then try and get a store to come and buy it. And this is all physical interactions you had to have in different locations over a period of time. And New York was famous because all of it happened within a sort of 10-block radius, whereas everywhere else it was, all across the country, all across the continent. So that used to be the case. Now it's not. Now you can do all of it using SF delivery and your phone, right? Everything you can do. So technology has enabled all manner of incredible opportunities. It doesn't make it, it doesn't make it easy. It makes it easier, but it doesn't make it easy, and it shouldn't be easy. And everyone's got the same technology. So the competition is just as tough as it ever was, but the barriers that used to exist are now very different.
You know what I think every artist and designers nowadays should do? They should build their online presence. I don't see many of us doing that. I don't know why. Is it because we're not taught in school, or is it because they're not realize how important it is? Because if you want to be seen outside of school, you have to prepare and how to be seen outside of school.
The thing is, right, Cecilia, what I find intriguing is that there are certain pretty simple rules, and until you're brilliant, you need to follow them, right? And if you're brilliant, then you're okay. You can do whatever the hell you want. Don't worry. But until you are brilliant, you've got to follow them. And you've got to be a good communicator. You've got to do everything brilliantly. You've got to have some presence online so people can know what you do. Like, these are just basics. And, I'm perplexed that people don't realize that.
Now we're making this video to make them realize that. Okay, so I want to quickly summarize why it's important for them to utilize technology and digital, right? First, you have to build your own online presence. This will be able to give you more control over how your design, your work is presented and consumed. Have your own website, get your own, I don't know, Xiaohongshu account in China. In overseas, probably build your LinkedIn account as what everyone's doing. Maybe go on the Facebook, Instagram, and create your own work account, showcase your work, and just make sure everyone sees what you want to do in the future.
Yeah.
And nowadays you have digital tools and platforms. Like all the tools, they will be able to give you aids to do your work. You can do like 3D modeling, digital illusions, anything. And it's very accessible and affordable. So do that. And then you have like crowdfunding platforms where you can fund your own project. If you have an ambitious project that you want to do, use that. You don't need to
Yeah.
complain about, oh, I don't have money to start doing this thing. You don't need to have money. Maybe just ask
Hmm.
people for it. People will be
Yeah.
willing to give it if you have a really good project. And then you have like a lot of e-commerce platforms where you can just sell your digital works. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm selling some of my digital works on my own website because I built my website and I'm building my own personal branding. So yeah, do that as well and look for the online marketplaces where you can sell your works. Yeah,
Yeah.
these are the ways how technology will be able to help us in our future career.
Yeah, the thing that people it would be helpful for them to think about as well is that most people come up with excuses. So if you can be bothered to do all the things you just said, most people are not your competition because they're just going to come up with like, oh, I couldn't do that. Oh, yeah, I'm planning it. Like they've always got some excuse. So you could be the one who actually doesn't use excuses, but actually gets it all done. And that's how you can be successful.
Mm, yeah, agree. Okay, before we wrap up, I want to bring up the Design Innovative Institute
Oh,
Shanghai. Is
yes.
it a name that
Mm,
you are part of? Can you tell us your
yes.
role and how did it all start?
So it's a wonderful place. What happened was the government of Hongkou district in Shanghai had a beautiful building that hadn't been used for 10 years. It'd been empty for 10 years. And they said to us, would we be interested in doing something with it? So myself and some other co-founders got together and someone brought in private equity. And the person with the equity said, right, I'll fund it, but the government will renovate the building. You make something happen. And so what we did, what we continue to do is we make things happen there. We all have studios, and then there's a lot of other innovation studios and labs there for brands that want to be associated. We do conferences and workshops and events and symposia and all kinds of different events there with the view to engaging the industry and engaging the academy and engaging the public. And it's not a conventional school. It's not like, we have classes and we have undergraduates, none of that. It's very much focused on individual projects, usually with industry, where we bring innovation to industry in ways that they might not be fully used to. So it's new. It's a new concept, and of course, it's been very successful. So people have now asked us to start thinking about doing that in other places. So it's
Oh,
it's very interesting.
oh, but you have classes too?
No, not formal classes. So we don't do like undergraduate and graduate, etc. But we do individual master classes and other things like that. So it's more ad hoc because we like the flexibility. We like to be able to do anything we want whenever we want to do it. Much more
Mm,
fun.
okay, so let's say I'm interested in that. How do I find out if your classes are right for me, and how do I contact you for the classes?
The first thing to do is probably follow my Xiaohongshu, but then also follow our design DIIS Design Innovation Institute Shanghai WeChat account because we do tell people what's going on via the WeChat account. So that's the best way to do it. We do public tours of the building sometimes, and like I say, we often have public events. But it's a very varied place because we shoot movies there.
Mm.
Brands do brand launches there. There's all kinds of different things going on. So from one week to the next, you really have no idea what's going to happen there. But I mean, I guess place number one to follow is the official WeChat account, which I'll
Mm.
send you a link to. You can post it on here.
Okay, no problem. Do you think it's beneficial to art and design students, this institution?
Well, again, if there's an event, for example, I recently did a design salon for Parsons students, but also for any other alumni that were in Shanghai, and it's very beneficial. It's a great networking thing. They join the community, and so they find out what's going on. So very beneficial. When we did a repair shop event where I brought in a load of brands that repair skateboards and bikes and clothing and other things. Again, very beneficial, very inspiring. So it's not like you don't join DIS and become like a member. You watch out for the events we're doing and you come to the events and you take part that way. And so, yes, very much. I mean, again, it comes down to who's got the curiosity to follow and get engaged when they see something interesting.
Mm. Yeah. See, this is another way that we were talking about, how to get jump start of your career when you're still in school. This is what you should be doing,
Yeah.
attending events, meeting like-minded people, maybe your future company that would hire you in this event. That is completely possible.
Yeah, Cecilia, some of the people I'm working with now, I met them because they came to events. They watched me give a speech, watched me on a panel. They put up their hand, asked a question, came and saw me afterwards, and then we, got talking, found out there was a project we could work on together, and now I'm working with them. So that's how you do it. If you're a kid and you want to get an internship, look at all the different events going on around the city. Look for a panel discussion with somebody from the company you want to intern at. Go to it and talk to them at the end. It's not that difficult. And they want to find other people who are keen on their brand. They're looking for, if you're a young person and you want to intern at a brand, they're looking for people. So, go and meet them, introduce yourself.
Yeah. If you can't go personally, you can always do, the similar things online, approach the people in the company that you want to work with. Thank you for sharing your insights and your expertise in this fantastic topic. I think that will be the end of our video.
Very good. Well, it's a real pleasure talking to you. Thank you. They've been great questions and I've really conversation. So I encourage everyone to follow our Design Innovation Institute Shanghai WeChat account and also my Xiaohongshu. And I look forward to more conversations like this in the future.
Yeah, I'll put on all the links in the description below of this video and they can follow you.
Very good. Okay. All right. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Talk to you later.
Thank you. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, that's the end of the video.
Great.
Maybe when I finish my trip in Europe, I'll fly to Shanghai and catch up, and I can go to the institution, do like a good video about it, actual video about it.
That'd be great. We'd love to see you there.
Okay. Talk to you later when I have more information about how to do the live and other videos. Hopefully you have more time.
Yes, we will. Yeah, don't worry. I can always find time for you.
Thank you.
All right, dear. Okay, well, I'm going to go. I'll talk to you soon, okay? Thanks for this.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.